New question, the Leader of the Third Party.
Speaker, my question is for the acting Premier. Thanks to the Auditor General, we now know that the Premier and her Liberal government are forcing Ontario families to pay $4 billion just to hide the damage that her hydro borrowing scheme will do in the long run. We know that she was warned about the cost, we know she was given other options, and we know she went ahead anyways. Can the acting Premier tell us who made the decision to ignore staff warnings and push ahead with a $4 billion scheme?
Acting Premier.
Mr. Speaker, again, the premise of the question is erroneous. The estimation by the Financial Accountability Officer made reference to what he felt were estimated numbers based on estimated borrowings, which were reminding everyone that that is not actually what has taken place. And so, Mr. Speaker, the premise of the question is erroneous. There is a plan before us which reduces hydro rates, electricity rates for Ontarians across the province by 25%, enabling us to do so in a responsible manner, which the opposition have now declined. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Supplementary.
Trust the estimations of the FAO and the Auditor General much more than I would expect to trust the estimations of the government. If you recall, this government estimated a $40 million cost of the gas plant scandal, and that was $1.1 billion, Speaker. So I'm not going to take their estimations, definitely not. In addition to the $4 billion, Speaker, that this Premier spent to hide the real cost of her $40 billion borrowing scheme, they also forked over another $2 million to consultants to help design said scheme. Since they won't tell us about the $4 billion, will the Liberal government at least make these consultants' contracts public so Ontarians know who exactly it is that's advising the Premier and what direction she was given?
Thank you.
President of the Treasury Board.
President of the Treasury Board.
Yes, thank you very much, Speaker. And first of all, I think it's important to understand that the numbers that the Leader of the Third Party is throwing around were estimates of something or other, projections that came from the FAO. They were not documents that were ever presented to Cabinet on which to base a decision. They were projections that came after the fact. They were not Cabinet decision-making documents. The decision that Cabinet did make was an important policy decision to say that things that actually have to do with electricity production belong on the rate base from an accounting and from a real perspective, financial fiscal plan perspective. Things which have social policy impacts belong on the tax base. And that's exactly what the accounting is based on, is that policy decision to put electricity on the rate base.
Supplementary.
I have not been gobsmacked in this place for a long time, but for a minister to get up and talk about estimations of something or others is pretty worrisome. For a governing party to do that is pretty worrisome. We know that the Liberal government knew how much it was going to cost to hide the disastrous effect of their borrowing scheme from the public. We know that they knew it was going to cost Ontario families $4 billion to do, and clearly they just didn't care that they were going to spend $4 billion to cook up this scheme. We also know that the people of this province paid an additional $2 million for consultants to tell them how to pull it off. Why is the Liberal government putting themselves and their party ahead of families once again? They're looking after their political interests, the interests of the Liberals and this Premier, instead of putting the interests of the families in this province who are struggling just to make ends meet and pay their skyrocketing hydro bills.
Thank you.
Minister of Energy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to our policy decision, we actually made a decision that helps every single family in this province, Mr. Speaker, by reducing their electricity bills by 25%. But then we went even further, Mr. Speaker. We brought forward our social programs, the OESP program, the RRP program. For those folks that live in the rural or northern parts of our province, they're going to see a 40 to 50% reduction on their bill, Mr. Speaker. That's the policy decision that we made as a government. We made sure that we kept electricity-generating assets on the electricity side, Mr. Speaker, and those social programs that I talked about, we pulled those off the rate base to lower the rates even more, and we put that on the tax base, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to putting families first, it's this government that does so, Mr. Speaker. It's this government that brought forward the reduction. It's this government that continues to bring forward plans and policies that will continue to help the families.
Member from Renfrew, Nipissing, Pembroke, second time. Wrap up, please. 1 sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It is this government, not the opposition, that is making a difference in the lives of families in this province each and every day.